Welcome to Chain Opinion Podcast, everybody. Today, we are embarking on a historical exploration of Greenland. You might picture it as, just a vast icy expanse, but, there's so much more to this island than meets the eye.
Yeah, what's captivating about Greenland is that, it's often overlooked, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is the world's largest island, yet so many people only think of, ice and polar bears.
Yeah.
And beneath that icy surface lies a vibrant history spanning over 4,000 years, inhabited long before Eric the Red arrived, and perhaps with a bit of marketing flair, named it Greenland.
Yeah, trying to attract settlers, maybe. It's a little bit of a stretch to call it Greenland with all that ice. But hey, it worked for a while. These Viking settlements thrived for centuries. But then around 1450, they just vanished, leaving behind this mystery that still baffles historians today.
Right, it's a historical puzzle, continues to intrigue researchers, but Greenland's story doesn't begin or end with the Vikings. Long before Eric the Red, the first inhabitants, the Inuit people, arrived around 2500 BC. Imagine 6 distinct waves of migration from what is now Canada crossing the frozen strait to establish a deep connection with this land that continues to this day.
It's amazing to think about that enduring connection to the land stretching back millennia. And then, around 1200, even while those Norse settlements were still active, another group arrived. The Thule people, ancestors of today's Greenlandic Inuit. They migrated all the way from Alaska, adding yet another layer to Greenland's complex cultural tapestry.
And these historical threads are really essential for understanding the complexities Greenland faces today, particularly its quest for self-determination. A key turning point in that journey was the arrival of a Lutheran missionary in 1721, marking the beginning of Denmark's modern influence. While he didn't find the Viking settlements he was looking for, he established a new settlement near present-day Nuuk, setting the stage for what would eventually become a formal Danish colony in 1814.
This brings us to a period that really highlights Greenland's strategic significance, the era of cryolite mining. Now, you might be wondering, what's cryolite and why should I care?
Well, back then, cryolite was an incredibly valuable mineral, absolutely essential for aluminum production, and Greenland, fascinatingly, had the world's only commercial cryolite mine. This single resource made Greenland a point of immense interest for a rapidly industrializing world, especially for the United States.
It's incredible how one mineral can have such a profound impact. And this interest wasn't just fleeting. In fact, the U.S. made offers to purchase Greenland not once, but twice, in 1917 and then again in 1946. These offers, though, rejected by Denmark, reveal how Greenland has long been viewed as a strategic asset, a pawn in global power play.
Exactly. Then come World War II and the Cold War, further pulling Greenland into the global arena. During World War II, recognizing Greenland's strategic location in the North Atlantic, the U.S. occupied the island to counter potential Nazi threats. And with the onset of the Cold War, that strategic importance didn't diminish. Instead, it intensified. The U.S. established military bases in Greenland this time to monitor Soviet activity.
So throughout the 20th century, Greenland found itself caught in this geopolitical tug-of-war, all while its own people yearned for greater control over their destiny. And those yearnings began to bear fruit.
Yes, we see significant steps towards self-governance. In 1953, Greenland transitioned from being a colony directly ruled by Denmark to becoming a Danish county more like a region within Denmark. But the truly pivotal moment came in 1979 with the Home Rule Act.
This is where things start to get really interesting, right? Because this act didn't just grant some symbolic autonomy. It gave Greenland its own parliament, the power to make decisions on things that directly affect their lives, like education and their crucial fishing industry.
Precisely, and this landmark act set the stage for an even more significant development. In 2009, Greenland took a giant leap forward, becoming a self-governing country within the Kingdom of Denmark with the right to pursue full independence through a referendum. This was a huge step towards self-determination, but it also opened up a whole new set of questions and challenges.
And this is where our story collides head-on with the actions of a certain U.S. president and his, let's just say, intense interest in Greenland. Because in 2019, he made a very public offer to buy Greenland, sparking a diplomatic controversy. The Danish Prime Minister firmly stated Greenland is not for sale, but that wasn't the end of the story.
Not at all. A few years later, during an address to Congress, the U.S. president reignited the issue, expressing his desire to acquire Greenland, citing national security interests. And to the concern of many Greenlanders, he added that the U.S. would get it one way or another.
Imagine the pressure you must have felt hearing a powerful world leader casually discussing acquiring your homeland. It's no wonder that this statement caused considerable anxiety and fueled a growing sense of, we'll decide our own future, thank you very much.
Absolutely. These remarks, rather than drawing Greenlanders closer to the U.S., seem to have the opposite effect, solidifying a desire for self-determination and control over their own destiny. And this sentiment would play a major role in a truly remarkable election, one where Greenlanders would make their voices heard. But we'll delve into that fascinating election in the next part of our exploration.
Welcome back. We've laid the groundwork exploring Greenland's rich history from ancient Inuit migrations to the era of cryolite mining and the geopolitical tug-of-war that shaped the 20th century. Now let's turn our attention to that pivotal election where Greenlanders had the chance to really voice their aspirations for the future.
An election that took place against this backdrop of intense international attention, and let's be honest, some pretty strong opinions from a certain U.S. president. Going into this election, many experts predicted a victory for either Inuit Ataqatigiit or Siamut, parties that have long dominated Greenlandic politics and kind of represent those two big currents pushing for independence sooner rather than later versus a more gradual approach. Exactly. But what unfolded was anything but predictable. The results really sent shockwaves through Greenland's political landscape.
Because against all odds, it was the center-right Democrat Party that emerged victorious. They surged from a mere 9% of the vote in the previous election to a commanding 30%.
A landslide victory indeed. And this wasn't just some shift in, political ideology. It was a clear statement about Greenland's future, particularly in light of that whole Greenland is not for sale sentiment. It's like Greenlanders were collectively saying, we'll chart our own course, thank you very much.
So help us understand what this unexpected outcome means. What makes the Democrat Party different? What were Greenlanders saying with this vote?
Well, the Democrat Party, while supporting eventual independence, advocates for a more cautious and measured approach. They emphasize the need for economic self-sufficiency before severing ties with Denmark. It's like saying, independence is the goal, but let's make sure we can stand on our own 2 feet first.
Which stands in stark contrast to the more immediate independence stance of a party like Nallerak, who came in second place.
Right. Nallerak and to some extent Inuit Ataqatigiit favor a faster track towards independence, even if it means facing those economic uncertainties. So you can see how this election became a referendum not just on independence itself, but on the pace and the strategy for achieving it.
And it seems that the U.S. president's remarks about acquiring Greenland, one way or another, might have actually backfired.
Yes, instead of swaying Greenlanders towards closer ties with the U.S., those comments seem to have pushed them in the opposite direction. They galvanized a sense of defiance, a determination to assert their own agency in shaping their future.
It's a fascinating example of how external pressure, particularly from a powerful nation, can sometimes have the unintended consequence of strengthening a local desire for self-determination.
And this brings us to another crucial aspect of this story. Greenland's vast untapped reserves of rare earth minerals.
Yes, those minerals that are suddenly making Greenland very attractive to a lot of countries.
Exactly. Rare earth minerals are essential for a vast array of technologies, from smartphones and electric vehicles to wind turbines and defense systems. They're really the building blocks of the modern world. And China has for years dominated the rare earths market. But as global demand skyrockets, nations are scrambling to secure alternative sources.
So suddenly this icy expanse, often seen as remote and sparsely populated, is thrust into the spotlight as a potential key player in this global race for rare earth minerals.
It's almost like a modern-day gold rush with nations vying for access to these critical resources. And this new dynamic adds another layer of complexity to Greenland's quest for independence.
Imagine yourself as a Greenlander in this situation. You have this long history, this deep connection to the land, and this hard-won movement towards self-determination. Now, on top of that, you're sitting on a treasure trove of resources the we desperately needs. How does that change your perspective? What are your priorities?
It's a truly unique situation full of both immense opportunity and potential pitfalls. On the one hand, those rare earth minerals represent a path to economic independence, the kind of financial security that could make full separation from Denmark more feasible. But on the other hand, there's the question of responsible resource management.
Right. It's not just about extracting these minerals for quick profit. It's about making sure that any development benefits the people of Greenland and doesn't come at the expense of the environment or their cultural heritage.
Exactly. So the question becomes, how will Greenland navigate this complex landscape? Will they embrace large-scale mining, potentially partnering with nations like the U.S. or China? Or will they prioritize environmental protection and sustainable development, even if it means a slower path to economic autonomy?
Those are tough choices with far-reaching consequences, not just for Greenland, but potentially for the entire global rare earths market.
And it's this intersection of history, geopolitics, and resource wealth that makes Greenland's story so captivating. It's a reminder that even in a world dominated by powerful nations, the choices made by smaller nations like Greenland can have a profound impact on the global stage.
So we've journeyed through Greenland's past, explored its, evolving relationship with Denmark, and witnessed how a U.S. president's interest inadvertently fueled a desire for self-determination. Now, as we reach the end of our exploration, what stands out to you most? What are the key takeaways from Greenland's unexpected election?
Yeah, for me, it's the resilience of Greenland's cultural identity. Despite being caught in this geopolitical tug of war, facing intense international pressure, Greenland has managed to hold on to its unique heritage. Those Inuit traditions, passed down through generations, remain a powerful force in shaping the nation's identity.
It's like they're saying, we might be a small nation on a massive island, but we have a story to tell, a culture to protect, and a future to build on our own terms. And that spirit of self-determination, that pride in their heritage, will undoubtedly play a crucial role as Greenland faces the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
Absolutely. And, those challenges are considerable. Achieving economic self-sufficiency, especially if they choose to pursue, full independence, is no easy feat. Then there's the question of how to manage those vast rare earth mineral reserves responsibly, balancing economic development with environmental protection and the preservation of their cultural heritage.
It's a delicate balancing act, navigating those competing priorities.
Yeah.
It's easy for us to sit here and analyze the situation, but imagine yourself as a Greenlander casting your vote in that election. What would your top priorities be?
Yeah, that's the question every Greenlander had to wrestle with. Would it be rapid independence, embracing the potential of those rare earth minerals, even if it means partnering with nations that don't necessarily share your values? Or would it be a more cautious approach, prioritizing environmental protection and cultural preservation, even if it means a slower path to economic autonomy?
These are the dilemmas facing Greenland's leaders. Dilemmas that highlight the complexities of navigating a world where geopolitics and resource wealth often collide with the aspirations of a people seeking self-determination.
And it's a reminder that while we often focus on the actions of powerful nations, it's often the choices made by smaller nations, nations like Greenland, that can have a surprising and significant impact on the world stage. Their decisions regarding those rare earth minerals, for example, could ripple outwards, affecting global supply chains, influencing the balance of power in the technology sector.
Greenland's story is a testament to the power of resilience, the enduring strength of cultural identity, and the complexities of navigating a world where the pursuit of self-determination intersects with the global demand for resources. It's a story that challenges our assumptions and reminds us that even the most seemingly remote corners of the world can find themselves at the center of global events.
So as we conclude our exploration, keep an eye on Greenland. Their journey is far from over, and it's bound to be full of twists and turns that will keep us all captivated.
Well, that brings us to the end of our exploration into Greenland's unexpected election. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts on this episode. You can also find us as an audio podcast on YouTube Music and Spotify. Thanks for tuning us.